the official podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
I'm Donald.
And I'm Kaylee.
And we are back to discuss Hellbound. We're going to be putting to bed this very different series. I still don't know what to say about the show. We're going to talk about episodes 5 and 6, which are, like I said, the finale of this, what I'm assuming first season, that it will return. I feel like I would be very surprised if this isn't picked up because, one, mainly because the way it ended. I feel like you don't end your series that way without, it feels like the story has something to say and it hasn't said it yet. I feel like it made several points, but I feel like there's definitely more to it, and I just don't think you would end it that way where there are just so many questions like, what does this mean? So my assumption based on the ending is that the people behind the show have, you know, ideas for a second. They have a story to tell. I was concerned that before I watched these episodes, though, I really wouldn't have been able to tell, like, based off the first 4 episodes, whether or not this was a show that was good enough, like Netflix would want to renew it. But in the past week, since we last spoke about the episodes 3 and 4, the numbers have come out in terms of viewership for this, and it overtook Squid Game. So between that and the ending, I'm feeling like we'll most likely get a season 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's that supposed to mean? That
what do you mean?
I don't know. The way you're
looking. I was agreeing.
It sounded stink though. Like, it sounded like, yeah, I'd probably get one, but I don't know if I'll be here. Like,
no, I will.
So, I want to know what you guys think, not just of these last 2 episodes, but just like overall. And this is probably going to annoy our listeners. I'm sorry, I really am. But it is like 90 degrees in here. And I feel like I need to put the air on or I'm going to die. So if you hear a noise in a moment, it is the AC kicking on. There we go. So who wants to go first? Overall thoughts.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. The more I watched, the less I started caring about that baby.
Oh my God.
I was like starting to accept that baby was gonna die. I was just like, all right, if it dies, it dies. That's it. I don't know. It's just, but I am glad the baby lived.
I mean, are you?
Yes. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I remember, I remember when, it was when it like started crying and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there was some relief. Yeah. Okay.
But I did enjoy this series, and at the end I do hope it gets a second season because I feel like there's still so many questions. Not only like why is everything happening and like if it'll ever stop, or like how do they determine who they go after, but also like throughout this entire series, I had a hard time trying to figure out who the main character was. Like, there's like a lot of characters, and then they kept introducing more characters, and I'm like,
yeah.
But it wasn't like a bad thing. I was just like, I'm not used to a show that doesn't really have a main character like this one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't considered that, but you're right. And I don't know if it's a bad thing. Like, I'm not saying it as a complaint, but maybe that made it like I will tell you, I didn't really care about anybody.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the only kind of negative to something like that. It's short, it's 6 episodes. You got rid of 2 of the people that we thought were the lead for like the middle arc, right? Like, because the cop in the, when did the lawyer die, or quote, we thought she died? Hey, Jean.
The same time. It was all
was it episode? Yeah. No, it was episode 3 and 4. It was in those episodes, right? Yeah. Because
it was all the same. Like when that guy when the leader of the thing died.
Right,
like
right,
all
right.
that happened in that same
Episode 4. But it feels like, I don't know about you guys, but it just feels like she was gone for like a big part of the series. It's like I don't know. It's like the show changed in episode 3 and 4, but it also just, there was that big time jump. So it just felt like we didn't get to spend a lot of time with her prior to like her death, and then like when it turns out she's not dead, it's like, okay, I guess I'm rooting for her, and I cared because of all the terrible shit they did to her beforehand. But yeah, it was really hard to like I never once was like, oh God, I hope producer Bay doesn't die. Like I didn't care. It was just like, so yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
I also want to say, when the first episode started, and there was that, was he a cop? He was a cop, right?
Yeah.
The guy with the dead wife and the daughter. I thought he was the protagonist.
So
it was
did
like
I.
setting it up for him to be the protagonist, and then he finds out his daughter killed someone, and then he goes home crying to her, and then we like never see him again.
Nope.
And so I was really waiting for him to come back because like he's not dead. I was like,
and that's
I want
the
to see
thing.
the daughter again too.
And like that's the thing. It's like not only did they not go back to him and her, but like so much time passed. So it's like I was almost going to be like a Squid Game spoiler, but it's like, when you have a time jump and then they don't tell you what happens to a character whose fate is, unclear, they're basically telling you it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You get what I mean? Like they didn't circle back to him after the time jump. I guess it doesn't matter. Like, I guess it's just an example of like how they were able to keep all of this going. Like he did it he went along to protect his daughter. I wonder if she was like, do you think she became like Arrowhead, like officially? Because she was a believer, I think. Anyway, Donnie, what were your thoughts?
I liked it up until that middle part before the time jump, and I did not like the second half. I did not like the last 2 episodes we just watched. I don't even think I could watch the second season of this.
Wow, really? Well, you're not invited, so there. So it'll just be us.
But
really?
Everything you guys said, you nailed it. Just like it to me, after the leader dies and we stop seeing the cop, I just felt like it was just all over the place after that. And then we never now we're just supposed to believe that these things are like a thing of God. And
no, that's the whole point. No, that's the whole point, that they're not. Like,
but why? I get it, but they're like, but they didn't give us anything other than, hey, they're just killing people, just like,
right, like
just
that's
randomly.
all. Because I think like for me, once we got to these last 2 episodes, I was so excited, and because I thought we're gonna get some answers one way or another. Because my thinking was, and I think I said this on the podcast, they're not gonna kill that baby, right? So I'm like. They're going to figure out my thing was they're going to stop it from happening somehow. And what I thought, like the easiest way to do that would be for them to figure out what is happening, right? Like they don't know how to stop it because they don't know what's going on. So my thought was they're going to figure that out in the 2 episodes, and whatever it is, they'll figure out a way to stop it because of that. And then they're not going to kill this baby. And so when he goes to meet when the producer, I can't remember his first name, but I know his last name is Bay. When he goes to meet with, I think he's Professor Kong, the guy who was working with Sodu, who they ended up killing him, burning him alive and then hanging his body, that guy. When he goes to meet with him, I don't know about you guys, and Kaylee, this is what I wanted to say to you when we were watching it earlier. I thought he was going to have answers. Do you know what I mean? I really thought they figured it out, and he's going to show them the video of his baby getting this declaration, and he's going to explain to him what it is, and they're going to stop it. And I don't know why I thought that, considering in the prior 2 episodes, we saw that they weren't stopping it. They were just making the dead people disappear, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Like they were basically just hiding the fact that some people had gotten taken by these things because they believed that, you know, that they knew that it was fake and that they thought people deserved to kind of die with dignity and die alone or whatever. So even though I understood that, right? Like we saw them show up at the lake after those things had taken his friend and that their job was just to clean up the evidence. For some reason, I still thought they would have an answer. So when he's sitting there and he's like, it's fake, this video to your baby proves it's fake, the best we can do is make it so that nobody knows this happened to your baby, right? I was like, oh, okay, this sucks. And then I thought they're going to kill that baby and Kaylee's going to kill me because I had it all wrong. I was like, So I'm watching episodes 5 and 6 by myself the other day, completely ready for this disturbing thing. I'm like, this show is going there. And I think I understand like what they had to say for this season. I don't know what the point going forward will be, because for that, I think we'd have to know exactly what the fuck is going on with these things. But on the surface right now, I think it is a very clear examination into religion and cults and how people buy into them and why they buy into them, you know, like what it says about people that this is like, to me, it's interesting that this woman saw this video and immediately went to like, what did my baby do wrong? What did I do wrong? You know, like believed it. And it makes sense because the time jump, right? So this has been going on in the world for like 4 years. So it's like, of course, people believe it, even if you don't. Does that make sense? Like, you may not believe that it has anything to do with God and angels and the devil or whatever, but you know it's really happening. Does that make sense? Like, and that's why I was so frustrated with Bae in those last 2 episodes prior to this, because this has been going on for years. You know that this is happening and you're standing there like, yeah, what's going on? Why are you acting like this? So like, I think it's interesting how people allow themselves to believe things for different reasons. And then how then they constantly have to change what they believe so that it fits. Like when something is proven false, you know, they have to come up with a reason to say, no, this is what God wanted. We had it wrong before, you know, that. So in that I like examinations into stuff like that. But I don't know, like, I am a little disappointed that we don't know what those things are exactly. And like Kaylee said, like how people are chosen. So wow, Donnie, you disliked it so much you wouldn't come back.
Oh, I couldn't even watch it a second time.
Who raised you?
We'll have fun without you then.
I know, right? Like, Donnie, that's so... Wow. Okay, well, we're going to talk about it anyways. Let's talk about these episodes. And we're not going to go scene by scene because it's not a very, like, exciting show to talk about, if that makes sense. It's just, it's again, I feel like it's just an examination. And so a lot of it is, like I joked about those first 2 episodes, people walking and talking. There was a lot of driving and talking in this one. And information going back and forth. So in the time that has passed, this religion, the new truth, religion, cult, whatever you want to call it, it has gotten considerable members and power. We saw the statue of those 3 things. They have this fancy, it's like Scientology, right, Tony? Like, yep. What are those, the Scientology, they have like those centers and stuff like that. Like the design of it felt very much like those Scientology buildings. Do you know what Scientology is, Kaylee?
Nope.
It's a religion. It's a religion that a lot of celebrities, not a lot. It's a religion that some celebrities follow that has long been considered occult, weird. And it was born from, I believe, L. Ron Hubbard.
Yes.
Hubbard. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dianetics. Remember that? Yeah, when I was growing up, like late at night, there would be like these TV commercials, like infomercials, for his books, and they were called Dianetics, and it always felt like it was about like science and religion and just shit that I didn't care about. So I had no idea that it would evolve into this thing, and it like they believe in like
aliens and stuff.
It's weird shit. Yeah,
it's like
Tom Cruise is a Scientologist. John Travolta, I think, there were rumors that Will Smith is one. Yeah. And so like all this stuff has recently come out. It's a mess. You know, rich white people with money. But anyway. So this reminds me very much of that. There's a new man. So apparently, like, we know people have been getting these declarations and hiding it, right? Like if they get it when they're alone, they're not telling people, and they make sure that they are alone when the thing happens, when it comes for them. So because of the whole shame of like your family and stuff knowing this, right? And so there's this man who got his declaration. His name is Kim Yong-sok, and they finally tracked him down because he got his declaration in a supermarket. It's like couldn't hide it, and it went viral. But he ran and nobody could find him, and so they finally did. And when they are interrogating him to say, the church people, the new truth, when is your declaration? I mean, when is your demonstration? He's like, today. So they rush because we see now that they have been putting on broadcasts of these things. And it's very clear that this is what this is about. Money and followers and power. And they broadcast this man's demonstration, but not before he snitched, because they found one of those Soto cards in his apartment. Those things like skinned that man alive. Did you notice that? Like, you know how like before they would do different things to kill people? Like with him, they were just like, it felt like they were touching him and like picking up their hands. And when they did, like his skin would be gone from where they touched. Like not even hitting him, like just like pulling skin off a chicken.
It is weird how they kind of treat everyone differently.
Right? I wonder if that has something to do with like
their sin.
Well, there's no sin. Like we don't know why they're chosen, but like I feel like I don't know. So, and can we talk about how the new chairman, who was the pastor that called Hae-jin in the last 2 episodes that set her up, he's the new chairman. His hair is laid, okay? Like them ends, that was freshly cut. There wasn't a split end to be found on that hair. That hair was healthy and glossy and bouncy. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing with all these people's money.
Right. A few months ago, he had bugs in it. And
now he's like, a couple of years ago. So when the producer Bae goes to the Soto people and they explain, I kind of already talked about this, right? Like that it's fake and that the guy, I think his name was Jin-soo, used it to his advantage before he died. And they offer to put him in touch with Hae-jin, the lawyer. She calls and wants to see him. Now, Kaylee brought it up because I didn't realize. When we watched the last 2 episodes, after the guy got taken at the lake and the Soto people showed up, she's the woman that stepped out the van. That he had asked Kong, like, what do you want to do with him? Did you recognize her as the lawyer? Because I feel like we sat on this podcast and was like, who's that woman?
And I think she had a scar. And
Yeah. She has a scar now. And like, I don't remember that from when she stepped out the van. Right. So like when we see her now, Kaylee was like, oh, I didn't even recognize her. And I was like, what do you mean? We've seen her before? Totally forgot. So yeah, sorry we missed that last time. So they figured out when that guy snitched, they figured out how they're doing it, right? Because remember he had that card about for loans, like
Right, and
owing money.
they found out that was a front
A
for
front, right? And so they're like, well,
people that they were hiding people.
right? And they were like, how are they contacting the people? Like, how are they finding out about it? And what they would do is visit them pretending to be the loan people. And so they had visited one of the people. I don't think it was his friend. I think it might be the guy that gets killed in this episode on TV. But like they visited him in jail, I think, or bailed him out or something. And that's the guy who did it. They realized that they're posing as those people to visit them and talk to them without suspicion. So they track that one guy and threaten his wife, and he gives up the Professor Kong, which they ambush him at like a traffic light or something. And then they end up killing them both, actually, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they use the navigation system on their cars to figure out like where they've been. And that's how they figure out where Heijin is, right? Yeah. So the leader, like the deacon, I think his name is Yuji, he's not like the leader, but I don't know what. He just looks psychotic enough. Like I bought it. I was like, his hair slicked back, the glasses. Like, I don't know who he is, but I just immediately accepted him as the new bad guy. I was like, yep, he'll do. He tells one of his guys to call the Arrowhead and gather as many as he can. He's like, because I know you're in contact with them. He's like, you don't have to do it in secret anymore. Just call them because we need to go to this lawyer's office and fuck her up. So they gather all the Arrowhead people. And I went to the bathroom. So I just have here in my notes, bathroom, because when I came back, I was like, Kaylee, you're going to have to like fill me in, even though I'd seen this episode before. But I know at some point the professor, after Heijin tells Bae, listen, the best we can do, either we can like clean it up afterwards so nobody knows, or you can let us broadcast the murder of your child so that it will expose everything. And he was like, yeah, I gotta go. Which I don't blame him. What would you do?
What if
it was your kid, right? And she says, look, you go to them for answers and they're like, yeah, we don't know why this is happening. We just know it's bullshit. And this is what we do. So if you don't want anybody to know that this happened to your baby, we can make it look like something else happened to your baby. Or we can broadcast it so the whole world will know this is bullshit. What would you... So your baby's going to die either way, you think. Mm-hmm. What would you do?
I don't think I'd let them broadcast it.
So you would let the rest of the world continue to be snowed by this?
That's selfish.
Yeah.
But why is it selfish?
Selfish person.
No, but why is it... No, but I don't know that it... I don't know that it's selfish until... Wait. Until you tell me... Wait. You're going to get your turn. I don't know that it's selfish until Kaylee tells me why she wouldn't let them broadcast it.
Are you expecting me to answer why I wouldn't?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It's just I feel like it. I don't know. If my baby's gonna die, I just want to be left alone with my baby. I don't want anyone else bothering me.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know that that's selfish though. What about you, Donnie?
No, especially like in that case, because you're already against these people and you're already trying to take them down, and something like this comes, then yes, I would use it.
Yeah. I'm torn, honestly. I see both sides of it.
It'd be different if you just didn't care about these people and these cult people didn't fuck with you, and I think that would be a different scenario.
Yeah, that's true. Because at this point, they had already, what we see happens later, like they were going to totally kill that couple.
Right.
Yeah, take the baby and let the things get her the baby or whatever. Okay. So, when he goes home, the baby's crying and we see the wife is having a hard time with everything, obviously. And she tells her own story about how her mother was the worst and how she told herself she'd be a better mother. But now she feels like shit because she's had, you know, these conflicting feelings over, you know, what's about to happen to her baby and supposedly why it's happening, right? Like believing that this means that the baby has sinned in some way. Oh, and what I skipped over was the professor telling Bay about his daughter, and they showed it to us. But I'm trying to remember, like, because remember he said his daughter said she wanted to see the ocean. So I thought, when I first watched this, I thought where it was going was that she'd gotten her declaration and didn't tell him. Mm-hmm. And so she knew when it was going to happen and she wanted it to happen at the beach because she'd never been or always wanted something like that. So when he says, you know, she wanted to see the beach or the ocean, I was like, oh, did he know or not know? And she wanted to do this like as her last moments or anything, something. But then the thing appears when they're in the car. And it's
like, you got 10 seconds. I was like, Jesus.
I was like, this is fucking terrible. But I don't. How did they?
20 years, you get 10 seconds. That's fucked up.
Oh, I was trying to remember how they take her. The father crashed the car on purpose, right?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Did he?
Maybe he definitely swerved out the way to not hit those things. I thought more as him just trying to escape them. I don't know if he intended to crash the car.
And then we see them. Like, I'm trying to remember. She's, like, in the car, and she's still alive.
Like, the car flips over, and it's upside down, and they're both buckled in, and they pull her from the car.
Drag her to the shore.
Got to the beach.
Donnie.
Life's a beach.
Jesus Christ. So they kill the informants. They kill the two people who work for Soto. They hang their bodies outside Hanguk University, and then they prepare to attack Heijin's office. But what they didn't know is she about that life. So for the past 4 years, she's been protecting folks, dignity, and also training to beat ass. That's all she's been doing for 4 years because she was kicking their ass to the point where when they showed up with all those arrowheads and that dummy was getting out the car.
So it's been 4 years since that other dude died?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The time jump happens in the last episodes we watched. Remember? Because I was like, it just felt like he went home and the streets were empty. Remember? And I was like, what the fuck is happening? He went home and he fell asleep. And I think like in that time, it was like a subtle time jump. Because remember, like he went outside and there were like statues of those things. I was like, how the fuck did they get statues? Yeah. So, so they arrived there with the arrowhead that, the New Truth arrives with the arrowhead members that they gathered. And then the guy who was like secretly, the deacon who was secretly working with the arrowhead starts to get out the car too. And Deacon Yuji is like, stupid, you can't be seen with them. Keep your ass in the car. But when she starts to get away, they get out. And they're the ones who almost stop her until she pulls out that taser. And Kaylee and I were laughing because that one deacon, he was like, well, we finally meet. He really thought he was about to do some villain monologuing, and she kicked him right in the sternum. He was not ready. So, and that episode ends with the wife taking her ass to the New Truth building, whatever it's called. Yeah, at that point, that's the point where I was just like, if this baby died, then this baby just died, because she's stupid. It's like, lady, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I have very little notes for the 6th episode. Let's just talk about like the big things that happen. Okay. She takes her dumb ass to that place just as we thought. And then what made it worse is that she was ignoring his texts.
Yes.
Right?
At first, yeah.
At first, yes. So like in the car, and I'm like, if you're going to do it, just tell him you're doing it. And then what was frustrating to me was when at first he was texting her, he wasn't saying, what he knew, which was that they had just murdered people and hung them. You know what I mean? Like, and then by the time it was like, you're not going to the new truth, are you? She was already in the building. I was like, Jesus Christ. Oh, that was so annoying. But yeah, they, like we thought, they were, you know, going to grip her and that baby up. And he finally says, they're going to hurt you, don't go. And it's like, dude, she's already accepted their coffee. She's just, she's chilling. And then he eventually arrives with Heijin and like her two associates, and one of them pretends that he's about to have a demonstration to like distract so that they can get away. And then she like fucking whips that car. She didn't hit enough people though. We were watching, we kept saying, hit them. Like,
oh yeah. Just run them over. It's fine.
Yeah, just do it. Like, also, why didn't they punch that old woman in the face that had the baby? I was like,
baby'll be fine. The baby's fine.
I'm like, why are y'all showing this woman grace? She is literally in the middle of kidnapping your child, and you're just tussling. Oh, I was like, punch this woman in the face and take your baby. What the hell? So we learned that the guy who was the head, I don't know what you want to call it. Like, the guy in the videos with the face paint and all that stuff.
Yeah, the YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
The YouTuber.
The streamer.
The streamer. He was, he got a declaration. Do you guys remember, when did he get his declaration?
It seemed
It was,
It was in the past,
3 years
right?
before.
Okay. Right.
Time that takes place.
And so when he got that declaration, I'm assuming then he stopped doing. Yeah, he
He's
retired.
like, fuck this.
I mean, that's what happens though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you buy into this shit and then you realize, oh, wait a minute.
Why they picking me?
So he was like, okay, I guess I should find something else to do with my 3 years. So it seems like he was helping Sodo, right?
Mm-hmm. It seemed like he was under their like care, at least.
Yeah. That would make, yeah, because he would tell them. But like, they didn't know that he'd gotten a declaration though, right?
I'm assuming that's what all the people who are there are for. They're staying there.
Living in that building.
To hide out, yeah.
Okay.
Until they die.
I didn't get that. I didn't understand that that's what that was.
But
that's what I'm assuming.
He still had his mask.
What? What'd you say, Don?
He still had his mask.
I mean...
He's still crazy.
There you go. He just knows the truth now, but he's still crazy. Yeah, but he calls into the new truth and he like snitches. And then he says like he had his declaration and he wants meeting, and they just want to know where he is because they want to get to Heijin and the baby. And they're like, tell him he's the Messiah or some shit. He's like, oh yeah. So he tells him that. He's like, oh, well then why the fuck am I listening to you? Bye. He's like, I'm God's chosen one. Okay. Oh, and the hint. He said, I'll leave you a hint. And then 2 seconds later, he forgot.
Yeah, he's like me.
He was like, oh, that's right. I said I'd leave a hint. He tosses the cell phone so they could track it. So when those things come for her baby, like he attacks them, he turns on them, and the mom runs with the baby out into the courtyard, and she's telling the people that she's the one, this is going to happen. Because at some point also Heijin goes on the news, right? And they and releases that this has happened to this baby, right? That the baby has gotten this declaration. So those things show up, and like this I thought was a good way to do something very, if you're going to do this disturbing scene where, you have your audience thinking that this baby's about to get took. They did it, I think, in the best way that they could, because I don't think that those things ever touched that baby. Mm-hmm. Right? Like,
right. They couldn't get to it.
Right. But that's a clever way to do the scene. You know what I mean? Like if you're writing it and that this is what you've already established that they fuck people up, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, even if at the end you want to make it so that the baby lives, you have to have this play in a way that's believable. And even in a sense that, like, you know, they were tossing that mom around and they had to do it in a way that it's like they weren't, quote unquote, pulling any punches, but also that, you know, you can't have her die, right? So, like, I just thought it was really believable, them using her as why, you know, this baby was never hit. Although it did get tossed around, but that mom, man, she had a grip on that baby. And then the father shows up, and then like he uses like some hose or something to like tie them together, right? Like tie himself to the wife and the baby. And so when those things come, I guess they've just decided that the baby has suffered enough. Like, they're like, oh, let's just take them. And they do the soul thing, but it ends up killing the parents and taking their souls or whatever it is that happens, right? And the baby is left in this cocoon of its parents' ashes. Jesus Christ. And then the fucking crazy guy tries to kill the baby. He's like, no, I'm special, not you. He's like a psychotic older sibling when the baby comes home from the hospital. Like, no. I didn't know you were keeping it. Fucking Heijin takes too long to fucking stop him, but she eventually does, and then those things show up. And he's like, 잠깐만. He's like, no time to ask for. And then they just fucking literally drag him through the dirt and then like along the side of the building. And then he's gone. The New Truth guy is arrested because he beats up an old man. I guess the spell is broken. People are finally waking up like, okay. What are you laughing at? The old man getting his ass beat?
No, I'm just laughing at like how everyone was just like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, right.
The cop's like, he's just like, you're not gonna touch me. He's like, no, you're. Yeah,
arrested. I mean, dude, like, come on, like
you guys, you're
pushing it. I'm standing right here. I mean, but honestly, if they really wanted to do something, they would have stopped it before it got as far as it did. I mean, that was the same thing even with like when that guy was trying to kill the baby. Like nobody was trying to help at all. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so she gets away with the baby, and we learned that like a lot. And I mean, they had said that earlier too. Like the Soto people had a lot of help, you know, quietly, a lot of followers. And one of them apparently is a taxi driver who helps her get away without having to stop like through a police checkpoint or whatever. But the biggest thing that happens in this episode is at the very, very end. Mm-hmm. What the fuck?
When we were watching this, I was like about to leave because Nico needed to go out. We were watching it with Nico on the bed, and he was whining and complaining. And so I was like taking him out, and I was like standing with my jacket on and everything about to take him out. And I was like, oh, I might as well finish this episode because there's only a few minutes left. And so I'm standing there, and I'm like kind of like shifting back and forth, and like it seems like the episode's ending. And then like I don't even say anything. I don't even look at you, and then you're just like, wait for it.
Yes, because I felt her leaving the show. Like I felt like she was like, okay, that's what they gave me. I'm going to go walk my dog now. And it was one of those things where like, you know, I could see people believing that it was the end because it like literally faded to black. Like, you know, and the music was like dying down, but then it like lights up again and we're at the building where they turned it into like a memorial site, right? Like all these places where people have been taken, and it's the woman from episode 2. And then like, and her remains were in like this case. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly she like reforms. And she's back and she's naked. And I don't know what that means. She Jesus? I don't know how this works.
I took it as like...
The baby surviving caused something where I think all these other people started to come back to life.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
What did you say, Donnie?
I think everyone is going to come back to life.
I do too.
And I hope so, because I want to see that guy again. The original.
Oh my God.
Leader. He had cute hair.
Oh God, what am I doing here?
I liked him.
There was something else I was gonna say. Oh, like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I have no theories. I don't understand. I don't know why it happened. It looked cool. I'm excited. I was like, oh fuck yeah. Because again, I had accepted. If this show had just been, we're not going to explain this weird thing that happens, like The Leftovers. You know what I mean, Donnie? Because the bigger picture is how people react to the unexplainable, right? And a lot of times, folks, particularly people who are already, prone to be follow a religion, who are already believers in some sort of higher power, they will mold things to be explainable, to come up with something that they can live with. And so if the show had just been that, I would have been fine. If it had just been, yeah, this crazy shit was happening and look how people took advantage of it, because that's what people do, I would have been totally fine with that. But now that they have this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is my shit. This is like some serious sci-fi weird shit. This ain't no Jesus stuff. This is just sci-fi, science fiction fuckery, and I'm here for that. So yeah, I hope they all come back. Oh, her baby's been living in Canada. They're like teenagers now. Oh my God. But I feel like, though, this is just going to cause more religious fervor, I think is the word, right? Because to have these people come back, I bet you people will shift, be like, oh, we had it wrong. Maybe there's, special, God's chosen ones or something. I just feel like they'll, I mean, we saw that, right? With the new chairman, like as things were happening and they're like, oh, we have a problem. They're like, oh, what can we say? Like, let's tell them this. Like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like that's a lot of like how religion works. Like they go to him because he's supposed to be, the highest, the closest to God. And he didn't know what the fuck to do. You saw how they gave that guy the promotion. Just slapped him in the head a few times. Then when he was beating him up later for losing the baby, remember? I was like, the last time you did this to him, he got a promotion.
Hit him the exact same way and everything.
Careful, he might take your job. All right. So any predictions before we move on to the feedback as to what this all means? Donnie, that was a really interesting theory, right? The fact that they didn't take the baby, maybe that fucked something up. So that's why people are starting to come back. I like that. Anything else, Kaylee? Anything?
No, I don't know. The show is confusing me. I'm just here for the story. Strap it in for the ride.
I started the manhwa.
Manhwa, yeah.
Manhwa. It's on Webtoon, and it's only like 4 episodes. And they do that thing. They're like, if you want to spend some coins, you can go like 19 episodes ahead. And I'm like,
yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, I'm like, relax. I've already seen the show. I'm in no rush. But yeah, and I was telling Kaylee that in the Webtoon, Donnie, those things that come and take the people's souls, they look more like, here there was like a lot of smoke around them. Right. If that makes sense, right? When they moved. In the Webtoon, they just look like tree people. Like their skin was like Groot, like roots of a tree, like all intertwined, but there were like holes. Like you have like a hole in a tree, oh my God.
Yeah.
No, not yeah. Because I got to remember this word because it's a very trunk. Thank you. Yeah, we couldn't. Yeah. Past that. Okay, that was scary. I couldn't remember that word. We was gonna take me to the hospital. The tree trunk. So yeah, their bodies have like holes, and they're scary, but they look way more terrifying on the show. And I just read up until the cop coming into the briefing after the first guy gets killed at the coffee shop. So yeah, I'm probably not going to read beyond the show. I want the show to tell me what this is about, but I was just curious to see the difference. All right. So no.
No, what? No predictions?
Yeah, before I move on to his feedback.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Hold on. I want to make sure. Okay. That I read everything. Okay. So, Kimberly, there's 2 bits of feedback here, and I don't know that I read Kimberly's before, so I'm going to read it now. So Hellbound season 1. Hello, Nina and Donnie and Kaylee. Yeah, see, this must not have been here. She didn't even know Kaylee was here. When I saw that Hellbound starts off with simian dust monsters who are looking for, beating, perusing, and then decimating and incinerating a skinny little wisp of a man, I knew I was all in. Based on 2020 and 2021, I would not be surprised to find this is our future in the coming year. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I would just roll with it too at this point. Like, why not? The transition to the existential question of what is justice when looking at the officer whose wife was murdered and the killer received the slap on the wrist, and the connection between true justice, damnation, and religious zealots, especially in the modern era of social media, makes so much sense. Exactly. What they're trying to say was super interesting. And I think they told it really well. If you just don't care about like why it's happening. That's why I hope they get a second season, because I want to know why. The hypocrisy was on full display throughout the episodes. So God punishes a single mother for her life of sin because doing what is quote unquote right is more important than leaving 2 kids orphans. And the public tunes in for entertainment. I don't even have words for the situation with the baby. I was interested in seeing what American, read white viewers thought of the series. Naturally, many thought the premise started off well, but then, oh! Here you go, Donnie. Maybe it's your whiteness. No, listen, this is interesting to me. Oh no, Donnie ain't saying none of this shit. Naturally, many thought the premise started off well, but then became quote unquote ridiculous because people wouldn't do these things. Yeah, no. Have you met people, particularly your people? Like people will people. Come on, especially when religion is involved. It was no less than I expected. After all, it's just a version of this is not who and what America is. But it is always good to have people reveal their truth, because how anyone other than a person from a privileged class with a certain mindset could not see the obvious correlation between this series and the crap happening with Trump and his acolytes right now. This is how that's how they get you. The ending makes me wonder if all the incinerated were resurrected, and if so, will they die again if they were actually buried? What happens to the ones who were cremated?
Well,
they were all cremated.
Yeah, they were all technically just burned. Like,
right.
Their corpses just reformed. I'm assuming they'll all just be reformed.
But it's interesting that they weren't like, we know that what was left wasn't like human, what was it called? Like human remains. Remember? It wasn't like organic stuff that was left behind. Remember? So what did their bodies, do you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Because the only things that were left was the torso.
Right.
Like the rib cage was the only thing I think we really saw.
Yeah, when they showed one person left behind, and I remember thinking, oh wait, I didn't realize it was like that. Or maybe it was in the comic. Like I remember looking and it was just the torso, and I was like, wait a minute, that's different. I think, so I guess I hadn't realized that. But you saying that, I was like, yeah, I have seen that. Yeah, that's really weird. I don't know. Wait, oh, sorry, I totally skipped where I was. I actually wish that Hellbound received a weekly release. It's a show deserving of thought that the binging process makes difficult. Well, yeah, that's why I like that we took a break between those. Like when it's shows like this, I like to try to binge over the course of a weekend because that's when we have the most time to do it with Donnie's schedule. But like, because we are now ahead, it's like I like the break, because we did the same thing with Squid Game, right? Like we do a bunch over a weekend, and then we have like a couple of weeks we can get to the finale, and you can have like a little time to sit with it. So, okay, finally, Latoya says, "Nigga, what?" Nigga, what? This is what she says. Clearly, I just finished, and I'm super shocked at the ending. First of all, whew, this violence. I feel like a big baby, but geez. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. That guy, what they did to that last guy after they took the baby, or they took the baby's parents. Kaylee, Donnie, did you notice Alien brought it up. Okay, so they didn't get the baby. And what's interesting to me is either they didn't realize they didn't get the baby, or they know they just took the parents and don't care. That's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, they're not strict, clearly. Like, they'll chase you till they get you. But if something like that happens and they don't get you, either they're stupid and they didn't realize it, or they did and they don't care. So there's that. But then they did come back in 5 minutes to get that guy. And when they came back to get him, that baby ain't cried once. That baby was like, oh shit, they're back. Let me keep quiet. In case they realize their mistake. In case they realized their mistake. And the moment they left after taking that man, that baby was like, get me out of here. That baby was like, but yeah, that guy, when they took him, the whole, like, it was so ridiculously violent that I was, it really does make you wonder. This is probably the point, right? Because you know, watching this and they're doing this to these people, does it make you wonder, fuck, what did they do? It does, right?
Right. But then we realize it doesn't matter what it's
right. But no, it's, but I think it's interesting that is our first thought as people, right? Like,
right.
Because it honestly, you even think about like the death penalty, right? Like morally, I'm against it, but but if somebody did something to someone that I care about, like if somebody hurt one of my kids, I would be like, fuck them. I don't give a fuck. Kill them. I don't care. And I know that's in direct contradiction to what I think justice should look like, you know? But here it's like, we didn't know, like we never found out what people's sins were, right?
Right. Because they didn't have any.
Well, no, I mean, I'm sure they did, if you buy into, right? Like, the whole point was, though, that they were, when you have people who are like, well, I didn't commit any of the big sins, right? Like, I haven't murdered anybody. I don't steal money, right? Like, when you consider that, I think, though, the point is that everybody can find some sin if they look for it, if that makes sense, right?
Right.
Oh, did you cheat on your taxes? Did you lie to your wife about this? Did you, take the Lord's name in vain? I actually think that might be one of the big ones. I'm a heathen. I don't know. I think one of the 10 commandments is like, you don't take the Lord's name in vain, I think. But that's what I mean. Like, so then when it started happening to people, we saw them. Remember, wasn't there the little girl who was like saying what her dad did? And that video or whatever. But I think as viewers, though, right, when we first started watching this show, I know there were times when I was watching people getting their ass beat and I was like, oh, damn, what did they do? And that implies that you think that there is something that a person can do to deserve that. Does that make sense? Because either you deserve it or you don't. Either it's okay to do this to people before they die, or it's not. Either it's okay for you to say, well, you've committed this crime and we've decided that the crime was so heinous that we get to torture you for the rest of your life and then put you to death. Like, we have, as a society, has decided that is an acceptable way to deal with people. And I think this is just an extension of that. You're watching people getting, skinned and beaten by monsters, and you're like, and somebody tells you, oh, that's happening because they sin. Your first question is, well, what did they do? So I know not to do it. Like, it implies that we think it's okay, but I don't know. Okay. So then she says, when the New Truth Jr. was beating the old man, I was very much grossed out. Yeah. I did laugh when they surfed on the live streamer. That was funny to me. Surfed on him. He did. And it was just one, right? Because like one of the things started and the other one hit him to push him out the way. They do that a couple of times. Like, they're greedy. Like, they want to get the kill. Other than the violence, I thought the show was really good. I appreciated finding out the fate of the cop's daughter. Wait, what happened to the cop's daughter? What happened to the cop's daughter?
I missed it. If they showed
I think they're talking about, I don't know.
She goes, I appreciated finding out the fate of the cop's daughter and the live streamer.
Unless they think that's the girl that was in the car. But that wasn't.
Yeah,
No.
it wasn't.
No. She goes, LOL, at him thinking he was the Messiah. The audacity. Questions. Did the sacrifice of the parents cause the resurrection of the mom? That's what you're saying, Donnie, right?
Right.
Because they didn't get the baby. Is that actually the soul of the mom? Ah, like, is it the same person? Was the father the one who got put in the box? A la Squid Game. Put in what box? Oh, no. Yeah. So, okay. So she might be thinking, so she's wondering if the man that they burned alive, that's the professor. Because she says, I was a bit confused about that because they referred to him as a professor when he was a cop. No, that's a different man. Right? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Professor Gong was the guy. He was the one on TV. And then they found out that he was working with Soto. And he was a professor at the university that they hung his body outside of. I don't think we ever saw the cop and his daughter again. And so unless there was like some background news information or something that we missed on the daughter, I don't think we learned what happened with her. Have they said there was going to be a season 2? I certainly hope so. Not yet. I love a good cliffhanger, but this might be too much of one. Yeah, I'll be very disappointed. I'll have to fucking read the webtoon. I still have more questions and answers. Thanks again, y'all. True. I still have more questions and answers too. All right, so that's it. We are done. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry you didn't like it, Donnie. I don't know what to tell you.
It is what it is.
Well, at least Kaylee will be back with me when there's a season 2. Yeah, that's my girl. Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. We have so much good stuff coming up. We're covering a lot, and I just finished going over the January schedule and adding some new stuff. So really quickly, if you are listening to this is one of our free shows, but we do paid content over on Patreon. We put out podcasts nearly every day. Sometimes we may put out 3 or 4 in a day, but throughout the course of the week, you get a lot of stuff. We are currently covering Demon Slayer, Hunter x Hunter. We're diving back into the final season of Attack on Titan in January. Super excited about that. So yes, we cover some great anime, but we're also covering some other foreign dramas. In addition to Hellbound, we have covered and will be covering Goblin, Erased, what was the other one we did? I did Beyond Evil on my own, which is a great K-drama. And then Kaylee and I covered Signal. So if you like, I think if you like this, you would like Signal, right? Like, I feel like they're kind of similar, Kaylee, in terms of like sci-fi. Not monsters and religion and stuff, but I mean, like there's time travel.
I mean, I definitely think Signal's better than this as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yes. That's also on Netflix, by the way. So Kaylee and I covered that. But we've covered Foundation and Invasion and Cowboy Bebop and Hawkeye and Money Heist. Oh, my God. Yeah. So there's a lot of great stuff over on Patreon. If you want to go subscribe, it is patreon.com/podcastfandom. Head over there to become a premium subscriber and get access to a lot of great content. That's it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for taking this journey with us. Our next drama that we are covering, the 3 of us together, if you are premium, you might be listening to this and then our time travel tier over on Patreon, they are a week ahead. So right now they have access to us discussing the first 2 episodes of Alice in Borderland. It is a Japanese series that a lot of people, it came out last year, I think December of 2020. It had been on my, in my queue to watch because it looked right up my alley, but school and other stuff, so busy, didn't get to it. But then Squid Game dropped and everybody was like, crazy about that, and people were like, listen, if you like that, you'll love Alice in Borderland. So that just bumped it up in my queue. So we're going to start covering that 2 episodes at a time. There's a feedback post up for it already, so if you want to watch and join in, that's up on Patreon as well. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.